Hi, Nancy. You're early.
I'm not really sure where to go for the where we ask the questions.
Okay,
And
I'll bring it up on my screen just to have it handy anyhow, that when everybody else comes on. And it was right in our private group, our mastering surface pattern design cohort. And then Lindy had made the post with the big question mark on it. And so the list of
oh, here it is.
questions.
I found it. That was
Okay.
a good. I just had that question about the symbols. So when you copy them to make the repeat, I started with an artboard and I also started with just a document, but they don't show. It's just the outline shows, but as soon as you go to the next one, it's there, but it doesn't show up. And I try to color it, but it's since it's not within, like you do the 10 by 10 and then you copy it, you duplicate it, and you go around. You can
Yeah,
see what
so
my hands are
what
doing.
I think is happening there, Nancy, is what I just said was the clip to canvas. I just
Right.
had this with I was helping Yvonne through this same issue. So I will show that. I'll
Okay,
actually
great.
show you how to do that. That would be easier, I think, for you to see. And it's literally tell like clip to canvas has it so that you're only seeing what's on your 10 by 10. And if you turn the clip to canvas off, then you see everything around it as well. So
Okay.
that's the issue. I'll show you exactly where to set that. And one of the good things is once you do set it, then anytime you hit those windshield wipers at the top, it'll turn it off or turn it on. So
Oh.
hi, Brenda Lee. Hi, Anne. Hi, Michelle. I always want to say me for you, Michelle, because my sister Michelle, we call her me.
Oh, my niece calls me Mimi.
Mimi, well, that's cute
Yeah,
too.
because she couldn't say Michelle when she was a baby.
It
Uh,
works.
yep.
I've had D or DD or Deanne all my life. Well, just
Yeah.
depends which relatives I'm around. How's things been going? How's the move?
We got everything moved to the new location and we close on Friday. So, we are on the stretch there and we are very blessed in today's market to sell. And so
Well,
yeah. And
congratulations.
thank you so much.
Hi, Elisa. Hey, Brenda Lee. How is the weather on the West Coast?
It's quite sunny today.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's very dry here.
We had very, very dry, but then we've had a couple days of rain. So unfortunately, one of those days of rain was when we were at the beach. But it turned out okay. You know how it is. It'll rain, but then it'll be nice. You go for walks and that sort of thing. So it ended up we just filled our time with eating. We just went somewhere to eat and then we looked around at souvenir shops and we did end up having some nice beach time on the Tuesday, so that was really good. Felt like a holiday, and that's how it's supposed to feel, right? Nice
Yeah.
break. Um, Now we had a bunch of questions in the hub there, and I can go through them one at a time and demonstrate if you would like. If you have additional questions, while we're chatting, if something happens to come up and you want to, just ask something that is relative to what I'm talking about, just feel free to throw it in the chat, and then Lindy can, yell at me at some point and tell me that I need to answer a question. Or if it's something else that you want me to show, I'm happy to do that. The very first thing I'll do though is show you that clip to canvas. So I'm going to switch now to that other view right now so that I'm on my camera or my iPad. Can you see my iPad? No, because I can't even see it. Come on, switch. Oh my goodness, don't do this to me. I'm going to be so mad if this happens. This has always worked. We've used this every single time we've been here. Let me double check why. If all else fails, quit and restart it. We'll see what happens there. Can you see it now? It's small
Yes.
there. Lindy, so you'll have to switch.
I'm I've looked all through the controls and I don't have that option even as the co-host to pin you as the like to make you the main.
Okay, now I've just made you the paint.
Okay, I got it. I'll do spotlight for everyone. There we go. I got it
Oh,
now.
okay, so everybody can
Perfect.
see that nice and clear? Okay, so at the moment, I have this clipped to the canvas. So all you can see is this one square. If you look in my layers, I do have all of those surrounding squares there, but this is where you control that. So that it looks like little windshield wipers, and you go to the top and go down to where it says clip to canvas and just tap on that, and you'll see everything within your image area. So is that what you were looking for, Nancy? Okay, perfect. Are you hearing me all okay now since I've moved?
Yes,
Okay.
perfect. And that's amazing.
And now you can just tap on that anytime you want to just sort of spotlight your single, canvas that you're working on. So just remember that as long as you've got it, you got the little dot on it, clip to canvas, you can switch back and forth just by hitting those windshield wipers. All right. And now I can go through the questions one by one. I won't, Lindy, switch to looking at the questions in
Okay.
the list that you had there. If you don't mind telling me or asking me the question, the next most relevant thing, I can quickly switch to that. I know that there was lots of questions about stroke profiles. That was one of the things
Yes.
I remember seeing.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So Nancy, Nancy and Melanie had quite a few or answered a few questions, and then Melanie's question was she said that she was getting a little better with the stroke, but today she had another issue. Um, and or yes, I guess it was when she posted yesterday. And she said that no matter how many times I cut and paste, I still have issues with the layers showing up in the correct order in the main tile. Um,
I
and
think, yeah, and so you know what? I'm going to switch back to my view here because what it is that there is an issue with the way that you layer or put something in the background. And I know somebody else saw the solution in another video, which was that I generally take it right out of that actual square and I put it down below all of the repeats so that it's just above the background layer. And then that way, yes, you're not really seeing it in the full repeat after, but you've seen enough of it in the full repeat just by testing it. You've seen that problem happen, but once you pull it out, you put it down below everything, it's going to print okay, which is what you need. You always just need that one single middle square to have that background in the correct position and that it's not overlapping anything. So taking it out, putting it underneath all the symbols resolves that issue.
Yeah, that's for the background because I watched that video
Yes.
after I posted,
mhm,
but I still have an issue where I have a flower and then it's like repeated 6 inches above and below, flipped or 5 inches, whatever the size is. And then I have like a leaf, like a vine on top of it. And then on one part it's below, but on the other part it's above.
Okay, let me
So in that
see.
case, I mean, I could duplicate the flower and I could move it the 5 inches. Like I guess that would be the workaround. But I feel like when I use the templates, if I have too many elements, I tend to have some overlap issues in the main tile. And like when I move something, like it'll fix it in one place, but then it'll create a different problem in the other place.
Okay, yeah, and I have had that happen too. And a lot of times what I do is I just move it to the opposite side or to another position. And I mean, this isn't one where I'm having the issue, so I can't replicate that issue.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. And yes, you obviously can just go back and then duplicate that and put it on top, which defeats the purpose of the template. I get that. But if
Yeah.
there's no other way to solve it, then I would do that. Generally, I have I almost always am able to resolve it just, by moving it around in either the layers or in on the artboard itself. I'll just move it to the opposite side. Like that flower, if it repeats right here, right? So if the issue is happening over here, then I take it and I put it over here. It doesn't really matter that that outside part doesn't look quite the same because remember, all we're outputting is that middle tile.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it depends on your pattern. When I've done that, sometimes it's like the problem's on the right, and then when I move it over, then I get it. Then it fixes it on the right, but then there's a different problem on the left.
okay.
But yeah, I mean, in that case, I can just double it up. The background was the one that was a bigger issue, but then I watched, another video or two, and you just moved it out of the repeat, and then it would be fine.
Yeah, and again, that was one of those where it's just there's no way to get around that issue of the layering in some cases. I have almost never had it, but when it does happen, like it happened enough to me where I wasted 45 minutes trying to figure it out, and then just thought to myself, why bother when I know I only need it in behind. So then I just cut to the chase and just decided not to worry about it, pull it out, and then it was working okay for the export. I think as long as you can visualize that background and you see that it's working everywhere and you know that it's got to be behind something, at the very end you put it down underneath below all the background, below all of your repeats, just above your background color. Okay, does that help? Hi everyone. Where did you all come from? Hi Zerly, hi Joe, hi Rhonda, hi Pam, and who else? I've got some people with no names here. Sorry, Ilona, Juanita, hello, Jennifer. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so
All
we're
right.
trying to
Oh,
problem solve some of the things that came up in the community. So was there anything else, Lindy, that you want me to demonstrate?
yeah. So Michelle had a couple of questions that she sent me in the community. And so first question is, if you have an asset that is an image, like you can create a brush in Procreate, if I upload the image in black and white as an asset, how can I recolor it? Is a color overlay the only option?
If it's a pixel-based um, file, yes. Well, recoloring it is not your only option. So we did talk about this at the last meeting, and I can show you a little image or demonstration of that again. Are you able to pin this, Lindy, or do I have to do the switch?
So it's saying that you're still in spotlight mode. So I'm,
I think it's fine because Lindy's
yeah,
talking and I'm not seeing her. Because
yeah,
normally I'm in
Okay.
speaker view and
yeah,
whoever's talking is the main screen. So
And
you
is it
say
filling the
something.
screen for all of you? Is it nice and
mm-hmm,
clear and filling the
yeah.
screen? Okay.
So like the pin only works on your end, Dolores, like for you to pin
Okay.
for like what you're seeing. So with Spotlight, it's for everybody for your iPad.
Okay. I'll demonstrate this by using a pixel-based brush that I happen to have. So I'll just use the brush, just pretend that you have imported this, okay? And I'll just use a flower stamp. I think I have something here. So we'll go nice and large and make sure that I am doing this outside of this so you can see it. I could do it on a plain black flower. Okay, so the one thing that you were asking about or mentioned was the recolor tool. So I've done and explained that in a few of the classes. But the other way that you can do it is to add a pixel layer above the one that you're painting on. So you would go to your pixel layer or to your layers palette here, that little plus sign, add a pixel layer, and then take and color, just use any brush that you have that you like. You could even use a textured brush. I'll just take a gouache brush and hang on, let me switch to the brush. And I would color, let me make it nice and big. So you can get your opaque color as opaque as you want it, and then you can just take and drag that pixel layer onto the flower layer and you've colored it.
Okay,
Okay?
so would it work the same? So like in the 5 card challenge, you gave like 30 textures away, and the textures, when you import them, are black and white. But that's where I was saying, like, how if I want to add that texture, it only shows up black. So I can do the same thing that you just showed us to color that texture.
I'm not sure about that, Michelle, because that background that you're then trying to apply could have white, black and white. And if it's
Yeah.
got black and white, then it would probably fill in the white as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like if you upload a PNG that you've pulled the color out to get the texture, I didn't know of any other way other than to do the over, is it the color overlay now that I can't, yeah,
Yeah,
whatever Lindy said I asked, that's what I was,
recolor. Yeah.
yeah, the recolor option. Thank you.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
Um,
Dolores, if it's black and white, then maybe you could use a blend mode so it like wouldn't show up
Yes.
on the white, but it would show up on the black. But if it was
yeah.
multicolor, then probably not.
Yeah,
Absolutely, Melanie.
But but
yeah,
the assets, the background assets from the 5 card challenge though, aren't those just vector layers? Can't you just
Yeah.
regular recolor them?
Yeah, vector layers can be, but I did give away a lot of raster-based textures too. Now, I would encourage you to go and check out all of these textures. Like these Artista textures are fantastic. I love using them, and they've got some really great textures. And you just add, again, you could just add a pixel layer above and, add your texture. Let me go a little
yes.
bit lighter. And again, you could just drag that into your flower and it's applied it specifically just to the flower.
Okay, I'll try that because it was actually like the pink you just put on that texture on that flower. That's what I was trying to do in my design, and I was struggling with that. So, all right, I appreciate the answer. Thank you, Dolores.
Yeah, no problem. There's tons and tons of textures here. I absolutely love these. I'm using them more and more. And, like once you have that one pixel layer, if this is going to be the one with your textures, you can add all of it, over and over, like keep
Right.
building on it. And the same thing goes. You could then get rid of it. You could go right to that original pixel layer and you could be adding, the new texture on
Yeah.
top of that.
All right,
So,
I'll try that.
yeah, perfect.
She had another question about global colors and if they're available just in publisher or if they're also available in designer and just maybe some insight on how to use the global colors. I know Melanie talks about the ease of using global colors because when you do the recolor, if you change it in one, it changes it for all. Is that correct?
That's correct. And
Okay.
I have a whole lesson on that from my foundations class that I'll drag into this um, surface pattern design class for you guys because the information is exactly the same. So you can do it's great because like we discussed the other day is you have let's say your 6 colors in your document and you add 6 other colors that are, just for that document. And the global color, you can then apply it and it'll change it throughout your entire pattern. So it's a little bit of a harder thing to demonstrate quickly. So that would be something that I'll immediately after this class put that into the main class for you guys to go back and take a look at. All right.
Thank you, Dolores.
Yeah, no worries.
And then there was one more question. Um, if you could confirm which were the additional classes that were added to the AD course packet.
Of course, you're going to ask me a trick question.
It wasn't me.
Um, Hang on. I'll switch to my camera on my screen. Wait, hang on. Why did I turn off my video? Okay, so the 3 that I added, I'll have to go in and just take a quick look. I think it was AD.
I think it's 22, 25, and 26. Does that sound right?
Yeah, 22. Was stroke profiles on last week already?
I think
Yeah,
so.
okay. Yes. 22, 25, and 2026. Yes. Anybody have any questions on those, by the way, because there were a couple things that had come up. Um, just specifically, one was to do with that butterfly class. It seemed to have disappeared for an hour or something, and then it came back up, and that I have no explanation for. But is there anything that anybody needs me to demonstrate to do with that? Any questions that have come up?
I think it was just not questions, but I was frustrated when I was trying to do the butterfly and then like I was doing it last week and then I just stopped and then when I was doing something different this week, some of the things that were frustrating me were less annoying. So I think it's just a matter of doing it like not multiple times, but like repeatedly.
Yeah, I think that the more you practice, the more comfortable you get. What's really frustrating at the beginning is, even knowing where the tools are, knowing where to grab something, um, knowing the layer order and how that's being affected. Or when the class is showing you one thing and that's not what you're seeing. I know that that can be really frustrating. So I love it when you ask me questions about that so that I can, clear up any um, sort of just either miscommunications or things that I'm missing that I should be putting in there. So I'm happy to hear those so that I can add additional information for you guys. Um, what kind of issues for those of you who are just starting out? Is there anything that has given you like a ton of frustration where feels like it's taken you way too long to do that I could show you, make it a little bit more comfortable for you? So I want to do demos. I'm happy to do them. I just need to know what you want me to demo.
I'm still learning about the white outline thing. And I want to just go and look at the video again or learn how to do the Procreate so that do the auto trace in the vectorization. I'm not going to use Illustrator because I don't I already have all these programs. I think I'm going to do the vectorization, whatever. I'm going to do something free. So that auto trace again, but that's the only thing I can think of. I want to do that, but I thought I would skip it and then go to the next lessons because I could spend a month on doing. I spend too much time because I love it.
Yeah, it's so fun, and especially with a new iPad, just learning all the ins and outs of the new iPad, I'm sure is like interesting and could keep you going for hours just
Yep.
knowing how to do the new stuff. I can show you some of my patterns that I've been working on if there were things within any of them that gives you cause to ask a question, that would be great. And that would be just one of the things that we could start with if you'd like, just to, get an idea of what I'm doing. I would love you to stop me and say, wait a sec, how did you do that? So
Yeah.
if there is something that you see as I'm doing this, let me know. But I'll go
Yeah.
into the stuff
Wait,
that
Dolores,
I'm.
before you leave that document, the thing that I still cannot do, or I can only do it sometimes, is draw a straight horizontal or vertical line. Because I know you're supposed to hold it down, but if I put my finger down too soon, it doesn't draw. See, for me, it won't draw anything if I start with my finger down.
You
But
don't
then
start with your finger down. You definitely have to drop it
so like,
down.
so
Just
put the pencil down without touching, then touch to draw. Because I feel like this line starts wobbly and then it gets straight. Or like, is there a way to just after I've drawn a bad line, is there a way to just make the 2 points match? Like, can I fix it after the fact?
yes, there is. So that's a
Okay.
great question. So let's say this is how my line actually looked.
Okay. Wait, but you just got it. So you put the pencil down without moving it, you put your finger down, and then you drew.
I, yeah, I was ready. And then as soon as I started drawing, I put my finger down. But I get it because this is sometimes what happens, right? You get this little wobbly bit. I generally just drag over the ones that I don't want and I get rid of them. Sorry, get rid of them. But the other thing that if ever you want to get the line perfectly parallel, so let's say you already can tell that it's a little bit off. It's like this, it's not perfectly parallel. When you select it here, you can't grab that alignment at the top here, right? So you're like, where can I align this? You can still align it if you go into the transform panel. This is hidden in here, this alignment options, but you can get to the same alignment options as normally would show up here. The problem is they don't show up here unless you're on the move tool, right? So if you're on your node tool, because you've
Oh,
got
so
these
you,
two
you select it with
selected,
the node tool,
yes.
and then you can get it in alignment
And
options.
then
Okay.
and then you get into the transform panel and you've got them. I can see both of them are selected. So then I can align them. So that's a really good one because that's a hidden one that I did not know of for a long time. And it really used to make me mad because what I would have to do, I thought I had to do was to go in and go into the transform panel and get that single point and actually type in the measure, the location of it. So that
That's what I
was
was doing.
super annoying. So once I realized, oh my gosh, there's, alignment here, then I use that all the time and it's really quick to get into. So whenever you do have, this is a really great teachable moment because whenever you take a look at these panels, when you first start, like there's just too much, right? You're just like, I don't even want to look at that bottom stuff because it's just too much. I just don't get it. But as you are getting more and more comfortable, start taking a look at all of these other little options that are available. On a lot of the lessons, I have given you links as well to the actual user manual, the iPad Affinity Designer user manual, and I would recommend that you go and take a look at, the page that has to do with alignment and read everything about it when you have a chance. So as you're learning, you start to supplement your learning by checking out those additional resources that are there. Okay, and what was the other thing I was
There,
going to do? Was I going to show
oh,
you
there,
something? Oh,
there was
yeah.
one other thing I was trying to do in the dotted line. And there was some there, I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something that you could do in the regular line, but then when you switch it to like the dotted stroke, I think the option went away. I don't remember what it
Was it
was.
the maybe alignment or something?
No, I don't remember what it was. Oh, I think I know. Oh, I know what it was. In the stroke profile, when you can have it go like from, like thin to thick, could I do that and still have dots? So like I wanted a line of like, just circles, but I wanted them to get, progressively bigger or progressively smaller, but I
No,
couldn't
you
do that.
can't. Not
Bummer.
not in this
Okay.
program, unfortunately. Um, there might be different ways of accomplishing that, so I'll think about it and see if I can figure it out. There might be some way because I think I used to do it. I know I can do it in Procreate. I think I may
Yeah.
have been able to do it in Illustrator, so I'll try to figure it out and I'll get back to you on that if I figure out a way.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, because I think I was trying to add a line like in a petal or in the butterfly, and like it looked too skinny in the fat part, but then it, was too big as it got closer to the, the merging point or whatever.
I like that. I like that you're trying to do those different things. The challenges are, I mean, there's so many different things. Like I've used lots of dotted lines in things like this, and that would be a great and fun thing to be able to do is to take that line and then go in here and change the profile. But it's just not available. As soon as you switch back to the straight line, it is available. So yeah. Um, so amongst the things that I've been working on, and this is one of the classes that I was going to be recording. I'm not sure if this is going to end up being in this surface pattern design masterclass or if this will just be one of the classes in my membership. But remember last week we were using um, actual strokes to create our line drawings. And so then I got onto this like, oh, well, why don't I just do it this way instead of drawing it in Procreate and then auto tracing it. This saves so many steps by just being able to do it here. So I went through and created a whole bunch of different things, and I've just been, able to this. I only did this like a couple nights ago, but put together the pattern for it. So that's creating all of the strokes in Affinity Designer here, and then expanding the strokes, so making them into individual shapes so that, if you see them, the outline, it's not an outline anymore. It's not a stroke anymore. It's an outlined curve. So that's one of the things that I've been working on. So if you had questions about that, I could show you. I mean, basically, this is the first basic one that I did just with 4 or 5 motifs. And it was done in that way where I did, the lines actually drawn right within here. So I took the stroke and let's make sure that I'm on stroke. By the way, everybody, this little thing up here that allows you to switch between the stroke and the fill, you'll see that in most of my classes that I've recorded, it's not there because this was a new feature that they just added recently. So I always forget about this, that I can just go and switch it right up here. You can switch it in here, of course, right? Just by doing the slide. But I hadn't realized that that was there. It wasn't available up until now. And so a lot of times I forget to go and switch if I want to do just a stroke. So you guys have that advantage of having had that. And, so this is how I went through and I created all of these things. It's just by drawing the strokes. And then once I had the strokes all drawn, I just selected all of them. And I think right now my sketch is not locked. We'll see. I'm going to drag over it. Oh, it's going to work good. I just drag over all of them, so those are all the strokes. And then I just go to um, expand stroke. And now they're still separate. You can see here, but if I add them together with a Boolean operation, now they're just one simple shape. And you can go in and clean up anything, any little extra points that happen to be there from, when you overlapped it. And I found that that was a really great way to get super consistent strokes. And any of you who do lettering, so Melanie, any lettering that you do with this thick, chunky stroke is really nice to do here, just straight in Affinity Designer and not have to do any auto trace on it. So I've got, a lot of my lettering that I've done now, that's exactly how I do it. I just letter it with that one thick stroke, and then I can expand the stroke and I could fill this with anything I want right now. So that's one of the things that, is just something that I've only just started to do in the last few months.
And
That's
you're doing that with just a line stroke as opposed to a brush.
correct.
Okay.
Just a straight stroke
With the pencil tool.
with the pencil tool. I have now been doing lettering that has thick and thin lines as well, but I've been doing that by changing the stroke profile and then lettering my, words, and sometimes I have to adjust them a little bit. They're not all perfect, but in this case I'm trying to be pretty imperfect, getting thin and thick strokes and combining uh lettering that's script with lettering that's not script. I'm
So
doing this
it's
by
not
design.
pressure sensitive. You're doing it after the fact in the stroke profile.
Yes, I'm doing it with the
Oh,
stroke profile. Yeah.
okay.
There's a lot that you can do. You can still do your lettering also. If you did have lettering that you want to incorporate it into patterns, you could still go into the pixel persona and you could get an inking brush, but you would not be able to, it's not a vector, it would be a raster-based file. So you could go to inks. I like the comic inker, and this one still does have, hang on, let me get rid of this. This one still has, come on. Do you ever have that happen where you start inking and there's nothing there?
It keeps reverting to no color. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. But you can still have your thin and thick stroke with your pressure, right? So you could letter with this. It's just that it's, not
So
vector.
it is pressure sensitive in the pixel persona.
In the pixel persona, you could do
Gotcha.
inks that are pressure sensitive. So I use that a lot to do, once I've got, let's say, something like this bouquet done, and I want to go in and just add some little dots, little bits of color. Let me make sure that I'm not in a layer. I'm just going to add a pixel layer on top and I'll just go pure white so you can see, but I could just go in and add little dots. I'm on a layer that has a blending mode. Hang on. Pixel persona. Okay, there we go. So I could just go in and add little dots of color, like it's just a way that I can add additional. It's so small and it's such a minor part of the whole design that if it's pixel based, it doesn't matter to me because at this point, I've got tons of pixel detail on this particular one and it's all, it's going to work. It's going to work because I've made my document a full 10 by 10. So if I was going to use this on a greeting card or a calendar page, it would be fine. The quality would be excellent. Okay, anything else you want me to cover or talk about or show
Jerry had a question. It said, "What is the sync symbol in the sync studio?"
in the Symbol Studio?
She's
Um,
sync, but
are you meaning,
Yeah, the symbols.
okay.
When you go to add a symbol, then there's a
yeah, I'm
there.
this
Yeah,
button is
right
out.
there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that you can, if you don't have it on, you could be making alterations to your symbol and it wouldn't be updating it here and like within your symbol, but you mostly for surface pattern design, you do want it to be syncing
Wait,
all the time so that if you make a change here, it's going to change it everywhere else. If
wait,
you
that
don't, you see how you can move this independently?
wait,
And
that
so
answers Sarah's question from last week then.
that does it?
Yeah, wait, is Sarah on? I didn't see her. Remember Sarah wanted to do, she had a symbol and then she wanted to do a half drop, but then she wanted to like move something individually so it was harder to find the repeat. So maybe that's how she could do it, where she could have her one, she could do her half drop, she could unsync it, and then she could move little things on their own.
Actually, that's very true. You wouldn't be able to see it in your preview, but that would have worked for her in that case.
Yeah.
So that's good. I'll maybe tell her about that. I'll send her a note about that. I personally, like I do a lot of that, like where I'll do my entire template, I'll place all my symbols and everything, but at the end, I'm also still making changes here. Sometimes it'll be with that symbol, but I might add that same motif in or another motif and use it to fill out in little empty areas. So even though the template will bring the branch kind of in one position, you can still go in and you can move just, the individual symbol. Like right now, I'm able to just grab this symbol and move it completely, but I could also, go right into it and move that leaf everywhere within that symbol. So I don't know if that is helpful too. I often bring in additional elements to fill out the space. Like these would not be necessarily part of the actual symbol. So if we were looking at the actual symbol for that, some of these other ones are not actually a part of the main big symbol, if you
But
know what I
if you're
mean.
just, yeah, but if you're just exporting that one square, I mean, it's still going to end up in your repeat. It's just not in your preview, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
Like if I were to move this one without syncing it, this is still the square that exports, not the other one. So it's
yeah.
fine. It's fine, but I just don't want to get confused. And like if I put a pattern away for a week and then I go back to it and it's not working, I might not remember that. So that's for me, it would be easier to just add additional symbols in here to make it work. And here's a good example of that issue that you were having, right, Melanie? This is where the background is
Oh,
on
yeah.
top of. So that's where I would go in and take that whole symbol and move it right out. I know that it's worked as far as the repeat goes. I can see that, but I would just bring it out and just have it just over the background and just have it so that I can export that one. And the reason it's
I
repeating
say
is I
it's still
must,
showing now.
yeah, I must have it somewhere else. It's not within the main repeat.
Hmm.
So I must have been also testing it within here. So I'd have to go in
Oh,
and
yeah,
take it
there it is.
out. I was having problems with it. And then I figured out the issue at some point. Rhonda helped me figure out the issue on that. Rhonda was working with this template in advance of me releasing the template. So she
Yeah, I
helped
had
me
that
figure
same
that all
issue when
out.
I did it too. The background was all messed up.
Sorry,
Yep.
go, can you say that again?
No, I had that same issue too, that the background wasn't lined up and the whole thing. So I had to fix it as well. I don't exactly remember what I did, but I did.
It worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what
I have
else
a
would you guys
question.
like to see here? Well,
I
go
have a
ahead,
quick
Nancy.
question. The one with the pink flowers that you showed before the one with the green background. Yes, that one. Am I seeing it right that there's a background in just the main tile, but it doesn't show it on the rest of them? That whitish, it's like a little bit like the very
Like
background.
Tic Tacs?
Yes, Tic
Yeah,
Tacs.
and that's exactly what we were just talking about. So this is the problem. I'll tell you why it's out of there. It's because if it was in the main symbol, so if I had it here in that main symbol, there'd be spots at times, like here. Can you see that?
Yep.
Right here, it's over the flower.
Hmm.
I have confirmed that it looks fine in the repeat. So everything is working in the repeat. It's just that it's going on top of that single flower. And I know that all I have to output is this one square to be my repeat that I'm going to send to Spoonflower or whatever. So I take that texture and I just pull it out of the repeats completely. So you don't see it anymore on the outside. It's only here above that colored background layer, but it doesn't matter because all I'm going to be outputting to export for Spoonflower is that. So that's a perfect example of the problem that Rhonda and I solved that, is about moving those things out completely. So Melanie, you try that. The only time that you might find that it doesn't match up would be, of course, if you have a half drop pattern and you're using a full drop repeat. And a lot of times, all you'll need to do is maybe move a couple of little things along the edge and it'll look fine. So testing it within the repeat is still smart. So just do it anyways so that you see it and see what the problem is, if there is a problem, but know that you can then pull it out for when you're doing your actual export. The other thing is if you are going to be needing half drop background textures, use the half drop template to produce them. So when you do new from template, you go to your half dropped template, your main half drop template, and you could be producing those kind of, funny little textures, but do them here in the half drop template. Now, see, some of them have jumped out of the actual repeat, but if I'm doing and creating this little background, and I don't know why it does that while it'll jump out of the main repeat, but all you have to do is look at it here in your layers panel and drag it down to be within your symbol. Let me just recolor these so you can see them a little bit more easily. So here in the layers palette, I don't know why, but sometimes when you've drawn a few of them, you're within, and then all of a sudden it'll pop out at the top here. So just make sure you just drag it back in. But if I was to use this, I'm I'm creating a half drop repeat, so it would work in a background of any half drop pattern. So that's the other way to do it. So after you've got them all drawn, then you would select them all. You could convert to expand the stroke, sorry, and then add them all together. So let's pretend I have this all filled in. I would grab it, bottom one, two finger tap on the top. They're all selected. No, they aren't. Why? Okay. I've got two groups happening here. Hang on.
Dolores, maybe show the double finger tap a little slower because that's one of the best things about Affinity that not everyone might know when you
Okay.
grab multiple layers.
Sure. And you see what happened? I was drawing them, and of course, some of them have now, there's duplicates of them because they had popped out of the box there. But okay, so this is a really good thing that Melanie just told me to remind you of. If you've got a whole stack of things like this that you want to select, you can select either the top or the bottom one. I've got the bottom one selected here. I'm going to scroll all the way to the top, and then I'm going to use two fingers and tap on the top one. I dropped it, sorry. Two fingers, and you see how you select the whole stack of them? So in a case like this where you've got a million little things to select, that is just so much faster than trying to do this, right? This would be like so annoyingly repetitive. At this point, what I would do if I was actually using this as a repeat pattern, I would then switch to my move tool, go into this menu, expand stroke, and then I would add them together. See how now they're all separate curves here? As soon as I add them together, they're one single curve. So this one
You can
thing I
you
could
can add
add,
stuff, oh, I'm sorry. You can add stuff together even if it's not touching.
yeah,
Oh, that's so cool.
that is so cool. It's really cool. So that is how I created all of those. Like some of them I drew them in Procreate, but all of these vector backgrounds, which I use a lot, I created, in this same way. So these are all full drops. So if I was to put it in here, really, it's not supposed to work for a half drop. But if you have a pattern like this that has, the repeat is not going from side to side, it still works. Really, it doesn't. If this is in the background of absolutely everything, you've got a bunch of flowers and stuff like that, it's not going to show that it's not a full drop or a half drop. It's going to look fine.
Hey, Dolores, this is Michelle. In your assets, do you have the one from, hold on, let me find, I'm on my iPad right now. The one that you call five and five fall. No, that's not it. Hold on. It was a texture one.
Let
And
me
that's the
look.
one I can't get colored. Let me see where,
Most
uh,
of the,
they were like JPEGs. That's it. 5 card tranquil trek textures.
yeah, I don't think I had those as vectors.
Yeah,
So
that's the one I can't color. And that's where my question was coming from earlier today.
can you
But
send it to me, Michelle? And I will
yeah,
experiment till I figure it out, and
okay.
then I will, you know,
All right. Thank
share
you.
that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another question.
Okay.
Hi. Is there a way to, is there like a keyboard shortcut or because I don't have a keyboard to move the layers down without putting your pen on there, and physically moving them down on the iPad screen? Is there a tool to do it?
Do you mean like when you're looking at the layers here and you're trying to move this down?
Yes.
Um, Sometimes if you are about to do something, check down here. In
Oh,
this
right.
case,
Those
it's
little
talking about the
directions.
selection. It's not talking about the layers. There are a ton of layers layer controls when you are using the command controller. I don't know if that one off the top of my head, but I would check that lesson on the command controller and go to the link that takes you to the manual. And
Okay.
the manual may give you the shortcut for layers because there are
There- Yeah,
specific shortcuts with the command controller for layers.
there's also the like move back, like move back, move to back, like all the way
Yes,
back.
all
But I
of
don't know,
these.
but that's not really a keyboard shortcut.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
But if you did have a bunch of layers here, so let's go to a document that did have a bunch of layers, even this one here. Your layers here, if you've got something selected, you can also use these up here, Nancy, to move it back or move it forward. You see how it moved it there in the layers panel? So if you were to, find the one that works for that particular thing that you're trying to do, then, you know, maybe that would be the keyboard shortcut that you're talking about.
I think that's the one I was looking for. So you can repeatedly press the same button
And
rather
it'll,
than having to scroll down if you have that many layers.
right, if you've got 1,000 layers and you're trying to bring it all the way down, it can be a real pain.
Yeah.
One of the shortcuts, I can remember sharing this with Rhonda at one point, and she was so thrilled to hear about this one. If you've got all of this stuff open and it's starting to become such a pain because you've got to move stuff way down, go to your, I think it's this one here. Yeah, the second subcategory here, and you can do collapse all parents, and it'll take you back to having your folders closed. And is that ever valuable when you
I gotta
finally
remember
figure
that
that
one.
one out? It's one of those ones that you're like, ah, why didn't somebody tell me that? So
Yeah.
it's like little things that you're learning as you go along. But if a lot of times you're so engrossed in what you're doing here that the last thing you're going to do is read this tiny little text at the bottom. But this is how I, eventually learned some of those new things, and especially to do with the command controller, because even something as simple as selection. So if you're trying to select, let's say you're on a flower like this and you want to select, and I know I've showed you this, but I don't know if everybody was here. I'm just going to expand this shape here. And you're trying to select just these end bits because what you want to do is you want to convert them to be a rounded petal. And you don't want to have to go through and select all of these separate and do it like this. Yes, you might be able to get a few of them like this in a row, but if you use the command controller and you just flip downwards, you can actually get a marquee like this, or a lasso, I mean, and you can select a ton of them. And if you also engage the top, which would be like your shift key, so I just did a quick swish upwards. Now I can select all of this stuff. And the first ones that I selected are added, it's adding all of them together. So if you start forcing yourself to use that, you'll find that it's really helpful. So like go through that command controller lesson more than once to just get the, information about all the different settings. So when you swish upwards like this, it's like the shift key. So if we were to have nothing selected, so I just want to just select, let's say, one point here, but I want to select this point over here as well. As long as I swish upwards, I can select just those 2 points. Or, let's say what if I wanted to do, like every um, point on the right side or whatever, then I've got them only selected because this control key has allowed me to select just those and I can move them together. Okay, so there's that, which is really
Wait,
cool. And there
wait.
will
Wait, Dolores, how did moving the top one move like the other three? Like I know you had them selected, but normally I can't get them to all move together.
if I have just one selected,
Yeah, like how are those
okay,
other two
okay, if
moving?
I'm not selected at all on anything, I'm only selecting this one. I'm only pulling this one, right? But what I did was I swished up on my command controller and then selected a couple more. And so now those three are all selected. So if I'm moving them, I'm moving all of the ones that are still selected.
Huh.
Yeah. And there's some
But
really
they're
cool.
but they're moving in the same direction. So like if say you were trying to make a petal fatter, it's not gonna it's not gonna rotate for the fact that the petals are all at different angles. It's gonna pull them all down in the same direction.
That's correct.
Okay.
However, in an upcoming class, I do show you how to, let's say, take three flowers and just enlarge the three flowers right from the center. So the three flowers on a stem can get bigger from the center, and that's with using some transform mode, um, just other options that you have. But I just don't want to overwhelm you with too much information, but it does come up, and that will be something very useful for you. So, um, did
Cool.
this, is there anything here that was confusing to anybody? Anybody need any clarity on anything here? So in case you're wondering, this particular pattern is something that I am doing for, and I'm just going to be recording this today actually for one of the final classes, but this is one of the ones that we'll use for creating coordinates and blender prints. And this is the exact same one, and it's just subbing a different motif in here. So I've got one with like this scale, and then there's going to be smaller scales. And these are all new templates that are coming up that will help you when you're filling out a full collection, when you're creating, your coordinates and your blender prints and such.
You know, when you were sharing about how you were outlining, creating the outlining flowers, could you show us the layers in your filled pattern that you made from that?
Okay, are you talking about where was I? Was I in my pattern design? Was it this one?
I can't see what you're
Oh, sorry.
pointing to.
I'll switch back.
Yeah, that one. And then
Okay.
you
And
filled
then I
it there.
showed you
Yeah.
this with
Yeah.
it colored.
Yes. And what do your layers look like
And that it's a great
in that?
question. So let me just show you right from the start. Okay, so we've got, let's just take one flower here, and I'm just going to copy it and put it on a new document. And the reason this is such a great question is because you want to be able to color inside there, right? So what we've got here is a compound shape. And so a compound shape allows you to see what's in behind. So that's why it's showing the background color. If you want to actually color these petals, what you'd have to do right now is go to separate curves. Then you're going to have that big background, and you're going to have all of the things that make up the petals, right? So those you could then combine as a single shape, and they could be filled in an alternate color. If you wanted to have the center of the flower separate, what I should have done is, before I put it all together, figure out which one that is, which looks like probably this is the middle. I'll only grab these and add them together. And so now this I could color completely differently. And it's so cute.
That's cool.
Look
It
how cute
is
it
It's
is.
cute.
And the neat thing about
adorable.
it is it's given you also, so if you want to make this an asset, you'd want to put all these together in a group. But what you could do is you could duplicate the group. So you could either, use three fingers and drag it, or you could double tap and duplicate. And what you could do here is you could take the whole background off this one, and it's just this bit. And that can be super useful, especially if you take and you make your center different. That can be another asset. You could do the opposite where you've got all you do is you're grabbing this whole background, copy it and paste it or duplicate whatever you want to do. Make sure it's not in that group anymore. But this could also be an asset. And these things are so valuable when you're trying to make your actual patterns. And you just have to remember that if you want it to go into your assets as a single piece. And here, I got to make sure that this one's actually out. I can't tell. Hang on, I'm going to do a different color. Not that color, but let's say a yellow color, yellowy orangey color. I just want to make sure that it's not within this group. You see how it is right now? If I added it to my assets, that's exactly how it would be added in. So I want to make sure that I drag that out. So I've got these three different assets, which I could go into one of my flowers. Doesn't matter which one, but let's just add it to this. And so I've got these three things, and I go to that asset category, and actually, I'm going to go right into the assets, add assets from selection, and I've added three different assets there.
Dolores, when you copied that from the other document, it was you had drawn it with a stroke, but you had already expanded the stroke, right? That was
Correct.
like the stage it was at. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I had. Okay. Anything else that
Yeah,
anyone?
we have another question, and it was this, are there specific lessons that we should be working on for each of the 8 weeks of classes, or is everyone just working at their own pace and going through all the lessons regardless of what week we are on?
I think that's probably the best way, and that's why I'm asking that you give me any questions at all that come up because I can cover them anytime that we do one of these live sessions. Some people work really fast. Some people have all day that they can work, all day, all night, if they're like me, or you've got maybe limited time because you're working a full-time job. So nobody is going to be able to do the lessons at exactly the same pace. But any of the questions that do come up at these live sessions are usually helpful to everyone. I mean, there'll be things that you know already, but sometimes it's just a different way that it's applied that helps you get through to the next things.
Oh,
Anything come up?
I'm
Sorry?
working on oh, I forget which one. It's one where you have the intertwining um,
Stroke
flowers and
profiles?
then you put a color in the center, but it's a drop pattern, right? But we're reflecting it. So it's just going like a basic flow. So how do I make my corners or something on the side work
And yeah, it's like the
to like
front.
the edge?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I would have to look at that template again to remind myself of how I did it. But, generally what I do is I work with, sort of like the one edge, so I do my curving shape and then
Hmm.
I figure out, the something that's going to drop and I work on the second half. So I'm not looking at the opposite side. I'm working usually from left to right as I'm drawing. And so then I'm creating that second sort of flowing set of elements. Um,
Okay.
it's also the other class or one of the other classes that's in for this week is a similar thing, but it's in a full drop repeat. So what you could do is do that one first and then go back after and try the half drop one just to see if it makes more sense after you've done that other one. So let me know though if there's anything really specific, or you can always send me the file that you're working on right where it's actually bugging you and the thing isn't working, and I will help you with whatever that little bit is. I
Okay.
mean, this
Okay.
class is not that big, so it's I can do that. I have enough time that I could do that for you if there was something specific to a specific file as you're working on it. I know, Melanie, you were working on that. How were you finding it?
Um, Confusing. I mean, I was able, when you're in your template, because you could kind of just draw on it, I was able to do it, but that's where I had the overlap issue. But then when I could duplicate my flower to like fix the problem, but when I tried to duplicate my stem thing to fix the background problem before I'd watched the later lesson, I couldn't figure out the flip and the move. So like it was more complicated to think about. Like the template made it easy to do, but then if the template wasn't working as expected, it was really hard to like reverse engineer it the way I could if it wasn't a half drop, flip, all that. So I would say like just try to draw on it. But I think like I'm really comfortable in Infinity Designer like with shapes and those kind of things, but I'm still trying to get comfortable with the like sketching and like, just actually drawing. So
Okay. So Sherry, that might be an idea would be to switch to the pixel persona and just in your middle tile, just use a pencil to just sort of roughly sketch. And, most of the time as designers, before we had such, handy tools, we figured all that stuff out on paper before we actually hit the computer. In fact, we didn't hit the computer because we were doing all of it by hand. So we would, in order to create a half drop, you would literally have to retrace the thing that you had, fold it in half, and then drop it down by half so you could see where that seam was. And then you would draw your next element. And it's actually a wonderful exercise to do and just get completely away from the computer and just try it on paper first. So get a perfectly square piece of paper, and if you can, cut 6 of them or whatever you
post-it
need.
notes,
And
post-it notes.
yeah, post-it notes, because you really just need it rough. You just need to sort of be able to get your brain to just switch into that gear, right? And so once you've done, and I'd say like start on the left side, and then you're going to take that one and trace it 2 or 3 times and have it one above, one below, and maybe one beside. Then when you go to do the other side, it starts to click as to what it is that's working or not working with it. So it's just a fun exercise to do. And we used to have fun in the classroom doing this because the kids would be just like, I can't figure this out. But then as soon as they saw it, like they just saw the actual physical way of doing it, it was a real eye-opening experience for them. And they felt a lot more confident once they hit the computer. So it was just like, especially if they were struggling at the computer, I would pull them completely away from there. We would do it on paper. And then when they got back to the computer, then they were able to actually follow through and figure that whole thing out. It's like a switch goes off in your brain once you figure it out. And that's why I find that it's harder to design patterns in Procreate because you never see that half drop as easily. Like it's not just there. You have to be doing all that physical manipulation. And some people, I remember even Kat Cocolette saying she just refused to do half drop repeats for the first few years just because it was just way too hard. So then after a while, when
Yeah.
she finally got it,
I think if you have just like a random toss or something like that, it's not a big deal because you're just drawing your motifs everywhere. But I agree, like that pattern that you had, like the more complicated thing like that would be very hard to do in Procreate. And
it would
I
be
I
super
definitely see the
hard.
value in doing it in a Affinity Designer.
Yeah, and it's a hard one for me to throw at you so early, but it's a good one because it does make you figure that out. And you'll find that after you get through that one, half drop repeats are not going to be as hard anymore. So I wish you luck. And like I said, if any of you run into any issue, you're just not able to figure out, send me your document and I will either record a little thing or I will fix whatever's going on in your document or tell you exactly what it is that you have to do to fix it. Because I think that is also very helpful to have somebody, just
Yeah.
looking over your shoulder.
Dolores, do you have I haven't seen it in this class, but maybe you have it somewhere in the membership, just like an explanation of like what's a full drop, what's a half drop, what's a half brick? Because maybe that would be
I
good to
do. I
add.
have a download, so I can send you the download, or I can put the link in.
Yeah.
Um,
Or maybe add it like in the class.
it might be in one, like added onto another lesson, but I will make
Oh,
sure that I add it in the community as well, so you can find it there. Just it just shows you the types. It just has, like this is half drop, full brick or half brick, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I've taken a lot of pattern classes, so I'm really familiar with it, but I'm just saying if this is kind of someone's first time with patterns, like it's probably good to see that.
Thank you. Thanks for the reminder, Mel. And anybody who has questions or has something that they would love to have seen added in the course, definitely tell me, because this is our flagship, and once this year is done, I'm re-recording all of the classes that I haven't just done in the last few months, so that all of the classes at the beginning will be all re-recorded.
Okay. Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, I have already done textile pattern design, but in Illustrator, and I know I'm familiar with Procreate already, and I'm familiar already with using in Infinity Design, using the pen, the tools so that are just about the Adobe Illustrator tools in Infinity Design. So what would you recommend me? Not to use Procreate, use only Infinity Design to do my patterns, to do my motifs?
Um, if you really depends on how you're going to be using your stuff at the end, your final use of it. If you're uploading to Spoonflower, yes, you can absolutely still do your patterns in Procreate if that is what you like, if it's fast for you. But what I think is better about Affinity Designer is that you can enlarge anything vector to be very large. So you could be working on, um, you know, much bigger items, and your
Yes.
pattern is not going to be distorted. And also, a lot of times for art licensing, they will require that you have vector patterns. And so, if it depends on where you plan to go with what you're
Well,
doing.
I had never done patterns in Procreate. I had done illustrations where I have done patterns was in Adobe Illustrator. But I'm trying to learn Infinity Design to do my motifs and follow what Infinity Design, because just to learn it and to know how I manipulate Infinity Design and to come up with my pattern. Because I'm new to Infinity Design, probably the main menus that they have there to manipulate is like Adobe Illustrator. You have your menus, and Infinity Design, you have your menus to manipulate your pattern and use your layers and different things to move around your and do your design how you want it to situate stuff. So suppose I design in Infinity Design my motifs,
Yeah.
and then that will be the first step.
Yes. I would say, that helps you get comfortable with using all of the different tools. If you've got Illustrator experience, it will be very helpful, and probably you'll find it quite easy to use. The pen tool is exactly the
Yes,
same, the pencil tool, the
yes.
shapes, it's all the same as
Hmm.
Illustrator. And I think that, it's easier and fun to do it with a stylus instead of a mouse. So that's why I like using the iPad for everything
Yes.
I do now. When I used only my desktop and I was only using Adobe Illustrator, I used a little tablet with a pen, Wacom tablet, and I hardly use it anymore because I'm hardly ever working on things like that on my desktop. I
Well,
like doing it on my iPad.
I'm using my iPad with Infinity Design to do my first step. I just wanted to situate where I am. What do I supposed to do? Number one, number two, number three. If I use, if I using my iPad and I'm using Infinity Design, my first step is to design and learn the menus to do my motifs, to do my flowers or my designs. Correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And then what will be my second step?
Once you have, a bunch of different motifs, you're ready to
Yes.
start using them to create your patterns. So then I would work my way through the courses, starting at the first one. The very first one teaches you a lot of the basics. It teaches you how to use the template. And you can, just with that first class, just
Mhm.
experiment with using the shapes to build some of your motifs. So it'll show you how to make additional flowers and things. Once
Yes.
you go through that very first class, you'll learn how
Mhm.
to use the template, and knowing how to use the templates that I provide, you'll be able to then use all of your own motifs, and you'll work your way through all of these different classes that we're all talking about, or that, everybody seems to be on a different class, but then you'll
Mhm.
be able to take your motifs and drop them into these different templates.
Okay.
So those are your steps. One, two, and
And
three.
you talk about texture brushes, and when
Yes.
that does come.
Those, the classes that they did last week, so that would have been their second or third week. There's one
Mhm.
class that talks about using the pixel persona, and in the pixel persona is where you'll access the texture brushes that are built in.
So I build my motifs, and then after that, I do not use the texture brushes or anything like that. I do I go into the template, correct?
Yeah,
And then into the textures.
yeah, the pixel persona. Yeah.
Okay, the picture persona, you say that is not a vector, that is just a raster,
That's
correct?
correct. That's correct.
Okay.
So you'll
Mm-hmm.
be adding texture, and that
Yes.
will not be, it won't be vector, but
Yes.
because you've enclosed it within something vector, the edges
Yes.
of your flower, let's say, are still perfectly sharp. That doesn't change. All you're doing is within it, you're adding some different variations with color and texture.
If I add texture, when do I make those to be a vector? When I expand them?
You don't need to, like, once you paint with the pixel persona within something that's vector, you don't need to expand it. It'll
Okay.
just be the pixels themselves that will be a part of the file.
So I have the picture persona, and I add the texture and all the different changes. So I'm going to the classes to learn how they do it. So,
Yeah,
and I will go through the classes to know what goes, first, next, and after that texture, what is next? What is next after the texture?
we do
Mm-hmm.
everything over and over again.
Oh, okay,
We just
okay.
apply it to different templates. We start doing things like reflections,
To different
half
templates.
drops. I show you how to do things like
Okay.
you're going to be able to change the thickness of the lines. So
Yes.
all of these things I'm doing, just one piece at a time, just one more step.
Yes. So it will be too complicated if the flowers has a lot of different stuff, and but if I design it all in Infinity Design, and I had to use some texture too, so we'll go to the picture persona, and then after the picture persona, I will go through the classes and kind of put it in my mind what is go first, and do all the different things. If it's a little complicated, the flower or whatever I'm designing, or whatever I'm trying to work on. After I do, then while it comes the you talk about the templates. The templates come first before the texture, correct? Correctly?
Uh, I I think so for the most part.
Yes.
I did there's one class, the very
Mhm.
I think that with designing, if you did anything from like the summit that I was in, or there was a free class that I had done, it did show you coloring those pixel, or coloring the vector flowers. But
Okay.
generally, yes, we go from designing the vectors, then using the templates, and within one of the first classes, I think maybe the fourth class, then I kind of show you about adding the pixel persona.
Yeah, so you might want to wait until you've put your motifs in the template and you have them at the scale you plan to use before you put the pixel on. Because if you made your asset, really tiny, like an inch, and you did your texture, but then you decided you wanted a 6-inch flower, you would kind of blur it a little bit on the texture.
Yeah.
To know what kind of size is going to be in the template, correct?
Yeah, exactly. If you have your whole pattern laid out, it's generally the way I do it is I'll have all of my motifs in, I'll have the pattern all figured out, and the
Yes.
very last thing I do is I go in and I start adding the additional painterly kind of details to it.
So at the end, it's got the color in textures and different stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I think everybody approaches it a little bit differently. Some
yes,
people like to start putting their color in right away. Some people like to do the entire pattern. Like you saw the pattern that I did in those flower outlines. It's just black and white at the moment. And at the moment, they aren't even separated like Sherry asked me to demonstrate. I will do that now. Like I'll go in and I'll separate and group the things that I want that are going to be all one color. So I don't know what your approach would be. Maybe you would do it differently. Um, maybe Sherry would prefer doing it that she do
yes,
every
okay,
individual flower and groups it and then goes back later and colors. So you'll probably figure out which way works the
yes.
best for
Mhm.
you once you've gone through a few of the classes.
On template, I should know, I already should know, like, oh, I can set up already the different sizes and everything of everything and how do I want it to look and everything because that's the main thing, the template,
Yeah,
correct?
exactly.
Because
That's
that's going to repeat over and over and over the other all the way around.
yeah.
Okay. And okay, let me just
Yeah,
put no, how you were talking about Procreate too. I saw the classes on Procreate
yeah.
too and I wonder when do I go into Procreate or shall I try to do everything in Infinity
Try to do
Design
everything in Affinity for
to
now
learn,
because
to learn.
really that
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to show everybody how they could do it if they wanted to in, Procreate. A lot of the people that I have here in class are people that are in my membership and have done a lot of Procreate classes with me
Mm-hmm.
or have done, I know that
Yes.
they're already using both. I just wanted to make sure it was included so everybody knew my fastest way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to
Yeah.
focus 100% on Affinity Designer, I'd say that would be a good idea.
And I would say if you don't already know Procreate, just focus on Affinity because it can do a lot of what Procreate does. And again, I think so many people are already so comfortable with Procreate that that's why Dolores is kind of giving the comparisons to Procreate and things like that, because Affinity's like I'll say newer, relatively newer for a lot of people.
Thank you.
Yes.
But if you're
Because
not familiar with Procreate, just wait.
no, I'm very, very familiar with
Oh,
Procreate.
oh, well then
I
you can
already
use
draw
it for the things you're familiar with.
a whole lot
That's
with
Oh, then use
excellent.
it for the things you're
Procreate.
familiar with. That's what I do. I go
With
back and forth wherever I feel most
okay.
comfortable.
So if I have a lot of stuff done in Procreate and I wanted to bring it to use to do my patterns here, so I just look at the lessons that you have with Procreate.
Yeah,
Mm,
exactly. Yeah,
okay. Of course, it's important to learn Infinity Design so that you extend your knowledge about
yeah,
what you're doing, what I'm doing.
I,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
great.
I think
Okay.
because it's kind of like the best of both worlds. Like you said, you're knowledgeable about Illustrator, you're knowledgeable about Procreate, but
Yeah.
here's Affinity where you can kind of have that option to do it all together. So I think that's why a lot of people are, gravitating towards Affinity. And at first, like, I mean, because I'm new to Affinity, I find everything to be so tedious and it gets frustrating because I'm like, I'm so much faster in Procreate. I could do this, in 2 seconds. And over here, I'm just like with the node tool and like trying to like fix everything. But I loved what Dolores showed us today because I do like sketching in Procreate and I do want some of that drawing type feeling when it feels like, I like the shape thing, but I also like just having my own touch on things. So I love what you shared with us today,
Yeah,
Dolores. I'm able to use that, pencil tool and and still be able to kind of manipulate it in the same way we do with the shapes, but we can kind of have our own, kind of drawing to it too. So I really liked that. Thank you for
Okay,
sharing.
good.
yeah, I saw what you show on Infinity Designing, and I realized, oh, some idea that I have, oh, this will work really neat, you know?
Perfect.
But I
Perfect.
do know a whole lot of procreating and have you know, experience. So I'm like, that's what I wanted to find out. Well, where do I go?
Yeah.
But I know Procreate is like me, like ooh, fast and easy because that I have a lot of experience. But it's always my whole idea about taking the classes. I wanted to become familiar with Infinity Design to get both worlds
Okay,
to know.
perfect. Well, then you're in
Yeah.
the right
Well,
place.
thank you. I appreciate.
You're
I mean,
welcome.
yeah.
I
Thank
don't
you.
know your name because it doesn't come up.
Eloisa,
Eloisa. Okay, so
Eloisa
we've
Walker.
talked before online, so
Yes,
it
yes.
just doesn't show up on the screen here, but now that I
I
know,
just
I
show
won't forget.
the iPad. It show like iPad. I'm
Well,
taking it.
thanks.
Well,
Thanks for the questions.
thank you very, very much.
Oh,
Okay.
you're most welcome. You're most welcome.
I have a
How about the rest
question.
of you? Anybody else? Brenda Lee, go
I have a
ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
It's about the pencil. And when I'm drawing with it, all I get is this like blue line, but I don't
A
actually see
fill.
anything. It's just
Okay,
like
let
a
me
blue.
switch. And I'll go into Affinity Designer here. So when you're seeing that blue line, what you're seeing is it's literally got no fill at all. So if you were to either go to the color here, like probably it's your step like this, and it's got no fill. It has that blue, just a blue line through it. And so if I was to draw with my pencil tool, I see just the line. How come I'm seeing that? I forgot to turn that off. Hang on. Um, Up here is another way, right? There's the fill, which is that solid circle, and the stroke. So I'm going to turn both of them off so that when I'm drawing, it's going to give the result that you're getting. So you're getting this, right? And it just disappears. If you were to look in your layers palette, you would see that that is there. But because in your colors here, you've got no fill, it's not showing. As soon as you put a fill on, it'll show it. Now, the reason it's doing this weird thing here is because I didn't close that shape. I didn't go all around and draw a whole shape. So I would have to close it by either tapping on that, which will make this into a closed shape. I can still reshape everything, just by pulling on the line itself or by using the handles. But unless you have that actually filling when you draw, you're not going to see anything. So I still more often go here to do my fill. I keep forgetting about, the fact that I can just hit the fill here. As long as it's dark on the outside, it's hard to see it, I'm sure, as you're looking at it right now on the screen. But as long as it's dark, it's going to fill it with whatever color I choose here. So if I go to draw now, it's going to fill with that color. If it was the opposite, if I had this off and this on, then what it's going to do is put the color on the stroke. And it's at the moment, what did it do here? It took,
I think your stroke is at 0, Dolores.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so if
So
you're
my,
trying to draw a line and it's not showing up, it might be your stroke thickness. That happens to me sometimes.
yeah, thanks for saying that, Melanie. I would have forgot. And this is, you can close it here. You can, so if as I was drawing, I wanted it to close, I could have had that on. Now I've got an extra point here, but you can do it that way, or you can also take that point and drag it right onto the other one. Of course, now it's not going to do it. When I had just drawn it, had I done it right at that moment, and I think I've got a separate stroke here. Here we go. So if I drag that, I can just drag it onto there and it'll close the shape. So now that shape is not separate. I can also take this and separate it. If I want to break it, I can break it here and then, no, that's close. Which one's break?
Yeah.
I've got two.
Dolores, before you break it, how would you get the, like when you attach the two nodes, how would you get it to be like smoother? Because it looked like the anchor points were like wonky.
Like this.
Yeah,
The
like
anchor
how do
points
you,
are like this. If you
yeah,
wanted this to be a smooth point, you don't
yeah.
want that. You can just select it and just hit one of these. I can't remember. Either of them works usually. Like if you want this to, oh my gosh, I can't remember now. There is a way.
You can
Oh,
pull
I've got two
the
points there. That's
nuts.
why. Hang
Mhm.
on. If I do that, then it makes it into a smooth
Oh,
point. I had
gotcha.
2 points there, but now you can see that. If you want to then change that, if you put one finger down on the screen when you're changing your handles, oh, why won't it do it when I'm trying to demonstrate? Or maybe it's two. No, it's one.
Are you trying to move them independently?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
And
That always confuses me.
I don't know if you have to put your finger down first. When I'm doing it fast, it just works, of course, right? But just when I'm demonstrating it slowly, that it doesn't seem to work. But it did break it there, so that I could move these independently. I know it's one finger. The other thing is, if you ever want to break them apart, you can also use the knife tool and just click on it, and it's broken it apart. Oh my gosh. You know what the problem is like I'm at a bad angle here for this. I like being right on top, but it did break it. You just didn't see.
I'm sorry you're having a problem, but this makes me feel so much better.
You know what it is like I always have this leaning up at, like a 45-degree angle. And so when I'm thinking I'm tapping on the node because I'm like way over here, it's not getting it. So my face is real red right now.
No, Dolores, it's good because it makes us feel better because we can't get it to do anything we want it to do.
Yeah,
And I really
definitely
get
better.
when I get into a flow and I'm just literally working, like it's just I can do everything so fast. It's just I don't even think about it. I put my finger on the keyboard, I break the points, I do all of that stuff and it works, but it's just an awkward angle and it just makes me feel like yeah.
No.
But we've gone an hour and a half, ladies. So I am hopeful that you're getting all the information that you need with this. And really, it's awesome if you come up with questions and you send them to me so that I can prepare for a demonstration. That would be good. You're starting to get into a little bit more depth in what you're doing. So, Sherry, I hope that I can help you with that, but power through it. And if you run into any issues, don't hesitate to send me, a quick message or even the file, and I can help you with that. And Brenda Lee, anytime, even something like that comes up that you just need an instant answer on, as you could try putting it right into the community. There seems to be always someone that's kind of available and online that can look at and I'll try as much as possible to, monitor that as well. So, um, just get the help. Don't struggle through it. There's always going to be somebody that can help you, even with the most minor things. All right.
Well,
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
guys.
you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you all for coming today. And I will
Thank you so much.
see you next time, or I'll see you at Thrive on Tuesday night, one or the other. Bye for now.